Fujifilm came out with the X-E5, the fifth iteration of the X-E series. This is a camera that packs a lot. It is very similar to an X100 series camera, but you can interchange the lenses. Speaking of which, I have the 23mm f2.8 here, the latest iteration. I will be posting a video in the coming days, so stay tuned. Now there's a lot to talk about, there's a lot under the hood, but the way I'm gonna break this down is we're gonna first start with the looks, then we're gonna talk about the photography side of things, then the processor, and a few other things that I have to tell you. Let's do it. This has a machined aluminum top plate. This looks good, it feels good, and it's going to be a little more future-proof. Or so we hope. This is very similar to the direction they took with the GFX 100 RF. I do appreciate that because it does feel a little more premium. There's a new film simulation dial on top. I say new, but it's not really new, meaning they already implemented this on the X-T50 where there's a whole big dial that says film on it. I wasn't really a fan of that because you can access all of this from your menu. Now, this one looks a little bit more, let's just say that it adds to the looks of the camera. I came to Fujifilm originally because of their retro look, because of how neat and how easy they are to use. And I don't think this takes anything away from the camera. On the contrary, even if you're not going to use this dial, it is still very nice and it looks very neat. They streamlined this camera a lot to make everything pretty much flushed and good looking. In fact, at the bottom here, there's a little Bluetooth button that is in fact flushed against the body. So be that you have to access Bluetooth or not, and that you use it a lot or not, it is there, and it is not on, you know, the back or the side or whatnot. And I like that they just removed it and put it somewhere else, that it's out of the way. If you're gonna use it, great. If you're not, well, it's out of the way. Same for the rest of the dials, they feel flush, they feel good, they feel thought of. For example, the film simulation one here, you can just, you know, easily turn it and see like a magnifying glass almost. You see them in a very clean and neat way. Same for the rest of the dials. For example, the EV, the exposure value compensation dial here, is out of the way enough for you not to touch it by mistake. In fact, sometimes I was taking photos, my thumb was going around trying to find it. So you're not going to change settings by mistake. And it is a little harder, so you can really feel the clicks when you're changing your settings. That's an important point because some previous generation cameras, I think it was the X105, had an EV dial here that was very easily moved and it kept changing all the time, which was quite annoying. Where in here, they made it stiff enough, but not too much. I love the sound of the shutter of this camera. It just feels good. It feels a bit like, I don't know, springy a bit. When the shutter closes, I just love that sound. Okay, I can't really explain why, but I do love it. By the way, I don't know if you knew, but in all my previous videos or the recent ones, I always record the shutter sound and I post it at the same time as I show you my photos. So the sound that you're hearing there is the actual sound of the shutter of each camera that I'm reviewing. Let's talk about the weight of this camera. It weighs 445 grams, that includes the battery, compared to 364 grams for the X-E4. That is a difference of 80 grams, which is not huge, but it's still a difference, and I will tell you in a moment why there is such a difference. As for the X-E4, you can tilt your monitor the other way around, i.e. like this. That is pretty cool. If you're going to be filming yourself or whatever, you can see, or if you want to take a selfie, you can do so. Let's now talk about the photography side of things. They just introduced a new display mode, a classic display mode, that basically displays the main key information, such as the ISO, shutter speed, exposure value, and the aperture at the bottom, the center, the bottom of your frame. Only when you're looking through the EVF. So if you're looking on the LCD screen, you're not going to see this. And what that does is that it unclutters, removes everything that you don't need, and it just puts it in red at the bottom in a very simple and neat way. That's something I appreciate. It feels like the EVF is bigger, wider, larger, more crisp, more detailed. Something about the EVF. In fact, I was talking with the Fuji rep here, and I asked her, is there something new? Did something change? And we checked the specs, and the specs are the same as the X-T50, for example. It is less than the X100 series, X106, and it is way under or less the X-T5. So it is there's nothing new about the EVF, but something feels better. The contrast of the colors, what information you have when you're using this new display, classic display. Oh, and another cool thing that they changed, when you're using this new classic display mode, instead of seeing, the scale, the EV scale, like +1, +2, -1, -2, you're gonna see a little hand, a little needle, and that will go up and down, a little bit like we used to have on older cameras, like for example, my Minolta from 1966, it has that on the side, and that's how you would see your light meter, your exposure. Now, that used to break back in the day within the first or second year after you purchase or they produce that camera, and you would have to use an external light meter. So I really like the fact that they just thought of it and they brought that classic old little hand on the side. It's just a little detail, but there is no scale. There's no like +1/3, +2/3, +1 stop. It really is just kind of a feeling. You kind of see where it is. And I don't know, it's all about the feeling, isn't it? There is a surround view mode. It's, again, very similar to the GFX 100 RF, where you can see a white frame and you can see outside of the white frame to see what's going to happen, what's coming in the frame. That is cool because it allows you to plan your shots, to preview. So not only can you see with your left eye what's happening in the world while you're seeing with your right eye what's happening in the EVF, but you can also see when someone is going to come in the frame before you take the photo. It can be great for composition, for example, when you use street photography. Now that preview can be either semi-transparent, fully transparent, or it can be blacked out. There is 7 stops of IBIS at the center and 6 around the peripheral. So that is basically the reason why this camera is a little bit heavier, a little bit bigger. It is bigger than the XE4. If you're used to the XE4, you are going to notice quite a difference between the two. It's not massive, but there is a difference. So you have to choose between being stabilized or not being stabilized. And I think being stabilized with a difference of size and weight, it is definitely something I would go for if I was to choose. The processor is the same than found on the more recent cameras, the X-E5. This has a 40.2 megapixels. And there is an X processor 5, which is twice as fast as the X processor 4, by the way. And that helps for AI features, and it also helps for battery consumption to, optimize it. And you can, autofocus on things automatically, such as, birds, cats, dogs, animal, people, trains, boats, airplanes, etc., etc. It has a base ISO of 125. By the way, would you buy this camera instead of an XE4, or would you upgrade from an XE4? If so, let me know in the comment section below why you would do that. I told you there's gonna be some extras at the end. One of them is the fact that it still has the NPW 126S batteries, which is the good old batteries from Fuji, as found on all the other pocket bodies from Fuji. That is, I think, a double-edged sword. Why? Because I think it's great the fact that it is a compact battery that allows us to have a more compact body. It doesn't have to be as wide as an X-T4, 5 or GFX series cameras that have a little bit bigger batteries, capacity. But at the same time, it is also a battery that has less, capacity. So you're going to be able to take less photos. Nowadays, after a decade of having these batteries, you can find them online for a good price. You can find even third-party manufacturers and so forth. And you can go around with 2, 3 or more batteries. They're tiny, they don't take a lot of space. So the solution is to have more than one battery. Or what you can do also, you can use the USB-C slot and recharge your battery. For example, when you go for lunch or when you have a little break or whatnot, you can just, charge it on the go. So that is not really a con or downside, it's just, I'm just letting you know. If you were to ask me the question, Chris, would you buy this camera? My answer would be yes, like no doubts. I don't need this camera right now, but it's one of those cameras. Sometimes Fuji does that. They make great cameras and I appreciate them and I really want to buy them. So anyway, yes, this is a camera I would purchase, just to be fully transparent, honest, and I wasn't paid to do this at all. I can say whatever I want, but this is one of those products that Fuji does that, a little bit like the X-E5 that I just purchased. It's one of those that you really think about it and you're like, gosh, I don't need it, but I would I would definitely buy it if I did need it, or if I had the means to do so. There, I hope this video answered all the questions you had about the X-E5. This is my personal experience. Let me know in the comment section below what you think about this new product. Is it something that makes sense? Would you purchase it? For what reasons? And don't forget to subscribe if you like my content so you don't miss any of my future videos. Yes, the F23mm f2.8 is coming, and I'm going to compare it to the f2 model. Stay tuned. Cheers.